Today we're talking EPs. What's an EP? That's a good question. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, welcome to Northern Revolutions. I'm Rob. Welcome back if you're returning. Welcome if you're new. EPs, extended plays. This was actually kind of I guess it's turned into a thread. My good pal Brian over at Embryonic Robot did a couple videos about EPs last week, and a few others have jumped on board. And I'm not going to steal Brian's idea, but I'm going to borrow it. Because I don't talk about EPs enough. I have a bunch. Surprisingly, I have a lot on CD. But we're not going to show those because this is not a CD channel. And nor am I a CD enthusiast. What's an EP? As Brian pointed out in his video, it's a recording that's longer than a single and shorter than an album. It's kind of ambiguous. Generally, 30 minutes-ish. Guess that's what we're going to use as our definition of an EP. You'll find EPs in a bunch of different formats. There are digital EPs. There are EPs that are on 45s. There are EPs that are 10-inch. There are EPs that are 12-inch. I have some of all of them, but I'm going to mainly focus mostly on my 12-inch one. I don't think we can really talk about EPs until we maybe talk about sort of where they started. EPs were big in the 50s and 60s. In Europe, not so much North America. Here's my only example. The Beatles put out a ton of EPs to the point that there is an EP collection that you can get. This is their EP, Twist and Shout. This is an original UK. You can see the flip back covers. It's 45 on Parlophone. Put out a ton of these. I think a dozen. And these are 4-song records. So obviously a single would have 2 songs. This has got 4. Longer than a single, shorter than an album. And I love these Beatles EPs. They're fantastic. And in fact, I do need to eventually get all of these once I finish my UK albums, which I'm almost there. But so, this is an example of a 7-inch EP. It's probably only 7-inch EP that I've got. And it even says right on the back, 45 extended play. There you go. So, you can't argue. This is an EP. It says right on it. One band that I love that is notorious for putting out EPs is U2. They tend to do a lot of record store day EPs. Some of them are good. Some of them are not. Some of them are okay, but they're a hell of a lot of money for what they are. Got a ton of 12-inch EPs. I think they've got close to a dozen. But many of them I see, post record store day are $40. I'm not paying $40 for an EP. But I do have 2 U2 EPs here, which I think are good. The first one probably everybody knows and probably everybody has because it's very, very common. And this is Wide Awake in America. So this came out in 1985. And it's got Bad, A Sort of Homecoming, 3 Sunrises, and Love Comes Tumbling. These are songs from the Unforgettable Fire tour and album. Pretty common. You see it at every used record store and every record show. It's pretty common. They did a follow-up to this on Record Store Day a few years ago called Wide Awake in Europe. I would love to have it. It's crazy expensive because there's only 500 of them made. I'm never going to own one. I wish. If anyone has one and they want to send it to me, that'd be okay. My email's at the beginning of the video. Seriously. I would love Wide Awake in Europe, but, we've got Wide Awake in America. It was the first U2 EP. Now, you might think that Under a Blood Red Sky is an EP because I think it's only 5 or 6 songs. It is a mini LP or a mini album, which apparently was a thing in the 80s, and I looked it up. A mini LP is not the same as an EP because a mini LP is slightly longer than 30 minutes. I don't make up the rules. Most recently, U2 just put out an EP for no particular reason, I suppose. And this is their Zoo TV Live in Dublin EP, 1993. It just came out last month. It's fantastic. Songs from the Dublin stop on the tour, 28th of August, 1993. Zoo TV was the tour for Achtung Baby that then sort of eventually resulted in the Zooropa album. So the songs in here: Zoo Station, Mysterious Ways, Trying to Throw Your Arms Around the World, Stay, Far Away So Close, and Love is Blindness. 5 songs. I think the version on here of Try to Throw Your Arms Around the World is absolutely incredible. This is worth it just for the live version of this song. I think the best EP they've put out. And the cool thing, it's on neon yellow vinyl. Another guy that's put out a few EPs, one of my favorite artists ever, an unsung national treasure. We'll talk about this guy a lot. Huge fan. From Darwin, Nova Scotia, Adam Baldwin. Great rocker. This is his debut release. This came out in 2013 on CD, and then he put it out on vinyl a couple years later. Incredible rock EP. 6 songs, all originals. He's got the Springsteen look going on here because Springsteen's his hero, and this is a very Springsteen-inspired EP, and it is phenomenal. There's a song in here called Bonnie Raitt. I have the handwritten signed lyrics for it hanging on my wall that I got from Adam, so that's pretty cool. But I absolutely love this. Then after Adam put out his full-length solo album, he released another EP called No Rest for the Wicked, which came out in 2019. 6 songs. Man, great, very heavy electric guitar rock, but awesome. A little, veered a little away from the Springsteen flavor, but this is just an incredible EP. Next up is an EP that I guarantee no one watching has on vinyl because there's only 5 copies in existence. This is an EP by a guy named Blake Preston, and it's called Rat Race. How do I know there's only 5 copies in existence? Because I had them pressed. Blake's one of my best friends. Blake and I own a little label together called Road Trip Records, solely for the purpose of releasing his own music. And we put this out on CD, and there's thousands and thousands of those out there. But in 2015, when we did that, I secretly had 5 copies, lathe cut, it's actually not pressed vinyl, done just as a, because I wanted one and for Blake and a couple of guys in the band. I love this. I'm biased because he's my buddy, but I also love the music. It was a good 7 or 8 years in the making, and I remember these songs when they were being written on our couch when Blake and I lived together. But a fun thing on here, and my name is on the album bout. And when I had this cut, I had it cut on clear vinyl. So, indie rock record I'm quite fond of, but again, personally biased, but I had a hand in making this record. I also did all the graphic design. I did the insert and all that kind of stuff too, so obviously I'm a big fan of this. So here's something a little bit different. This is a band that's got a couple EPs, and I own both of them. This is the Old 97s, a rock band from Texas. This is their EP from 2012 called Mimeograph, and it's got 4 songs on it, and they're all covers. Rocks Off, which is a Stones cover. For the Girl, I don't remember who did that song. Driver 8, which is an REM cover, and 5 Years, which is a David Bowie cover. So this was an EP from 2012. And it's on a 10-inch, which is kind of neat. I think this is the only 10-inch EP I have. I have other 10-inch records, but they're not EPs. They're singles. I even have a very cool 10-inch YouTube live recording, but save those for another video. But Old 97's Mimeograph EP. And then a couple years ago in 2022, they put out this called One More Ride, 12-inch EP. And this is an EP of them covering Johnny Cash songs. Big River, and then the Train medley, One More Ride, Mystery Train, and Train of Love. And then the B-side is I Got Stripes and Wreck of the Old 97, which I assume is where they got their name from. Very cool, sort of aqua, translucent aqua vinyl. It's actually really good. I'm a passing Johnny Cash fan, I guess, and like I appreciate it, but I don't own much Johnny Cash, I think one or two maybe. But I enjoy this because this is kind of their take on someone obviously who inspired them. So One More Ride by the Old 97s is their Cash EP. Now I said I wasn't going to show CDs. I lied. But this comes back to vinyl in just a second. A band I really, really love, one of my favorite local bands. Are they local if they're from British Columbia? I guess not. They played around here a lot. This was a band I absolutely loved called Dustin Bentall and the Smokes. Talked about them before. Dustin Bentall is the son of Barney Bentall, who's a legendary Canadian. That's a bad pun because his band was called Barney Bentall and the Legendary Hearts. I didn't even mean that pun. Barney Bentall was a thing in the late 80s, early 90s. This is his son, Dustin. He's got a couple full-length records, but he put out a couple EPs. And this one is called Orion, as you can see on the license plate of the truck. And this is 5 songs. And this came out in 2012. I loved this band. I know Dustin. I know Kendall, his fiddle player, who was his fiddle player, and his girlfriend. They're not together anymore. And I know Dow Cowsill, who is was his bass player, son of Billy Cowsill from the Cowsills. And actually, Pat Stewart plays on here, which is Bryan Adams' drummer. Great EP. So he came out with this EP. He self-released it. It had a different cover. And then he was signed to Aporia Records, and they re-released it like this. And then he followed that up with another EP called You Are an Island. And this came out the following year, 2013. Same cast of characters. These guys are sort of great, like, I mean, they're rock, stoner rock with a tinge of country in there. So these two EPs were fantastic. And when I say I love this band, I saw them every chance I got. Every time they played within an hour of where I live, I went and saw them because I knew them, but also because I love their music. The band is long since broken up. But these two EPs on Aporia Records were re-released as a full-length album. So what they did is this is called Orion, You Are an Island, because the two EPs were called Orion and You Are an Island. So what they did is they remastered the songs for vinyl, and then they altered the track listing so it made a little more cohesive album. This is really, really, really good. But this isn't an EP, but this is an album that came from two EPs. There you go. I have a ton more EPs if we wanted to get into CDs, but I don't want to get into CDs. So we're going to leave it at that. That's just some of the highlights of my vinyl EPs. I'm sure I have a few more in there. But that's it. Check out Brian from Embryonic Robot. He did a much better job of this than I did. He did a couple videos, as a matter of fact. I know Richard S. did one as well. But it's a look at my EPs. Hope you enjoyed that. Thanks for watching. Catch you on the flip side. Bye.